He shot his wife 5 times in the middle of a busy street. But instead of fleeing, he pulled out his phone and went live on Facebook.
अपने बॉयफ्रेंड के कहने पे उसका नाम है अंकुश, वो भी इसके साथ में भाग गए, अंकुश कल्लू.
With the murder weapon still in hand, Arvind Parihar calmly confessed to the world, claiming he had been pushed to his limit. But this public execution was just the final bloody chapter in a twisted story of secret marriages, online warfare, and a chilling lack of remorse. What could possibly drive a man to not only take his wife's life, but to broadcast his justification for it just moments later? The full story is even more shocking than the crime itself, a saga of deception and obsession that played out in police stations and on social media feeds, culminating in a crime that stunned a nation. The end came suddenly and violently. On September 12, 2025, Nandini Kewat was walking on a crowded street just outside Gwalior's main cricket stadium, a place usually associated with cheers and excitement. But on this day, it became the backdrop for a horrific public execution. She had just left the superintendent of police's office, where she had gone with her new boyfriend, Ankush Pathak, to file yet another complaint against her estranged husband, Arvind Parihar. As they made their way from the station, a car screeched to a halt, blocking their path. Arvind stepped out, his face a mask of cold fury. He was holding a .315 bore pistol. Without uttering a single word, he raised the gun and fired 5 times. 4 bullets ripped through Nandini's body, and she collapsed onto the pavement as horrified bystanders scattered in panic. She was rushed to a nearby hospital, but it was too late. She was declared dead on arrival. The brazenness of the attack was shocking enough, but what Arvind did next turned this tragedy into a chilling spectacle. In an era where everything is documented, Arvind Parihar decided his crime would be no different. Instead of making a getaway, he remained at the scene, the murder weapon still clutched in his hand, and calmly began a Facebook live stream. Addressing his online audience, he justified his actions, claiming that his wife, with the help of her boyfriends, had been filing false cases against him and had ruined his life. His on-camera confession was just the beginning of his disturbing performance. After police arrived and took him into custody, his unnerving composure never broke. During interrogation, investigators reported that Arvind smiled and told them he felt free from daily quarrels, and described the act of ending his wife's life as a relief. He even expressed a morbid regret, stating that his only disappointment was that she hadn't passed away right in front of him, claiming he would have felt relieved if she had. This complete and utter lack of remorse signaled that this was no spontaneous act of passion. It was the calculated finale of a long and bitter war. Their story had begun, as many modern relationships do, in the digital world. Arvind Parihar, a contractor from a well-off farming family with political ambitions, first crossed paths with Nandini at a beauty parlor in 2022. A connection sparked online, evolving from social media comments to a real-life romance. Despite their complicated histories, Nandini was divorced and Arvind was already married with 2 children. They decided to marry in an Arya Samaj temple in 2023. However, this union was allegedly built on a foundation of deceit. Nandini would later claim that Arvind had concealed the existence of his first wife and family, a bombshell secret that would eventually detonate their relationship. The marriage quickly deteriorated into a toxic cycle of mutual accusations of infidelity, which they shamelessly aired on their public social media profiles. But Nandini was no stranger to controversy herself. Her past was shadowed by a serious criminal case. Before Arvind, she had been in a live-in relationship with a man named Nimlesh Sen. In 2017, Sen was murdered, and Nandini, along with another one of her partners at the time, Firoz Khan, were arrested as the prime suspects. She spent more than 4 years behind bars before a court ultimately acquitted her in 2022. Her life seemed to be a series of turbulent and dangerous relationships, a pattern that tragically continued when she met Arvind. Their marriage was a battlefield from the outset, with rumors and allegations swirling. It's been said that Nandini was pressuring Arvind to leave his first wife and demanding a share of his family's considerable property, adding a financial dimension to their already explosive dynamic. The verbal and emotional warfare soon spilled over into physical violence. The couple's arguments grew more frequent and intense, and Nandini filed multiple police reports against Arvind, accusing him of assault and intimidation. The conflict reached a terrifying peak in 2024 when she alleged that he tried to end her life by attempting to run her over with his car. This led to his arrest, and he spent 3 months in jail. However, in a twist that baffled many, Nandini later retracted her statement, allowing him to be released on bail. But his release didn't signal a truce. Instead, the war escalated, moving into a new, insidious arena, the internet. Just days before her murder, a distraught Nandini went to the police with a chilling new complaint. She claimed that Arvind, along with an associate, was creating and distributing AI-generated obscene images and videos of her, sending them to her family and friends in a vicious campaign of digital humiliation. It was a cruel modern form of warfare designed to break her spirit. The final act in this tragedy was seemingly triggered by a single social media post. 4 days before she was killed, Nandini posted a video on her Facebook profile. It showed her celebrating the birthday of her new boyfriend, Ankush Pathak, looking happy and carefree. Police investigators believe that this public display of her moving on with another man was the breaking point for Arvind. Seeing her happy with someone else after their long and bitter history reportedly sent him into a rage and solidified his deadly plan. The complaint she filed with Ankush on the day of her murder was the final insult. Arvind saw them together, and he decided to end the story on his own terms. The aftermath of the murder was as chaotic and strange as the events leading up to it. In a heartbreaking turn, Nandini's father initially refused to claim her body, stating that since she was married, her in-laws should be responsible for her final rights. Arvind's family, wanting nothing to do with the situation, flatly refused. At this point, Ankush, her devoted boyfriend, stepped forward and offered to perform her last rites. However, citing protocol, the police eventually persuaded her reluctant father to accept the body. Meanwhile, the story exploded online, but the reaction was deeply divided. While thousands expressed horror and condemned the brutal act, a vocal and disturbing contingent on social media began to praise Arvind. Comment sections were flooded with messages of support, with users hailing him as a man who delivered his own form of justice. Phrases like, "He gave her a war she wanted," and "justice served" became rallying cries for those who believe the legal system is unfairly biased against men. This public response has turned a tragic case of domestic violence into a polarizing cultural moment, exposing a dark undercurrent of resentment and mistrust. Nandini Kewat's story is a chilling reminder of how quickly love can curdle into obsession, and how, in the digital age, a private war can become a public spectacle, with a live-streamed murder serving as the horrifying climax.